Welcome to Sisu Slay by Herizon, a podcast where we untangle and make sense of how you can navigate Finland as an international professional through stories of building aligned career paths, successful integration, and experts who can give you a sneak peek behind the structures of Finnish life and work. My name is Viivi from the Herizon team, and I am the host and producer of this podcast. And today we're diving into a real hot potato of a topic. What really happens in recruitment processes? What are the evergreen truths of applying to jobs? And what's just another myth perpetuated by social media? And here, helping us dig into all of this, we have Leo Johansson-Stockford, a principal TA who focuses on recruitment operations and AI and works in defense. And thank you. Welcome, Leo, for joining us today.
Thank you.
So let's get with your personal introduction through the story of how did you first get into recruitment?
I basically fell into it by mistake. I was the shift lead at a company, at a small startup I was working at in London, and my manager came to me and said, we need to increase the team size. You do the recruitment. I was like, oh, okay, fine. And it turns out I really enjoyed it. Then when I moved to Finland, I found a tiny little, then sort of 3-person company doing exactly what I'd been doing in London. So I sort of went to them and said, I've done some recruitment. And they said, great, come join. So I was really lucky to sort of find something that completely overlapped, and I've been doing it ever since.
I love how you were like, yeah, sure, recruitment, yeah, I'll do that. Why not?
I guess, it kind of helps as a cisgendered straight white male to be able to sort of just have the audacity to sort of say, yeah, I can do this. Yeah.
But, I love that. We're checking our privilege.
Very much. But, it worked for me.
Yeah. And as far as I've known you here in your career, during your career in Finland, you're someone who is often seen speaking and sharing about recruitment in various events and beyond. A very visible figure, I think, in the recruitment scene here in Finland. But what's driving you to get out there and share your knowledge about recruitment?
I mean, basically the situation now, in Finland sucks. We've seen the 10.6%. That's not a happy figure.
And that's the unemployment rate currently.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there who are really, really suffering because of this. I've got a huge amount of relevant information, and so in a way, kind of why wouldn't I try to go out and help people? I have this information. It's gonna, it's needed. I really sort of believe that the way that we all succeed is by helping each other. And so in a way, you can think about it as moral duty, but I just want to help people.
That's so awesome. And today we are helping hopefully loads of people by shedding a lot of light to an area that sometimes feels quite murky or distorted, I would even say.
Good, yeah.
Yeah. And so let's begin our deep dive. We're starting with Evergreen recruitment truths. So first up, what kind of commonalities do you see in well-performing candidates over and over again? What are the patterns or consistent themes in there?
Yeah, I mean, if I were to sort of take an average of 10 years, the candidates who get through to interviews and kind of fly through the process, they're all really curious about the job and the company. They want to know more. They're not curiosity isn't just asking questions though. It's being able to sort of listen. It's asking questions, but also being able to listen, take it in, and actually do something with that information. I think as well, the best candidates have a really good understanding of what they're good at and also what they're really not good at. Because I think a lot of candidates kind of want to say, I can do this, I'll do it, I can do anything. I'll just learn. And actually that's not great. I mean, that's not going to work for a lot of hiring managers. They're going to say, well, actually, you clearly can't do this. And it causes doubts. And so if you have a candidate who says, look, like myself, I might say, look, I'm a really good recruiter. I am terrible at HR operations. Do not put me in an HR like a sort of like organizing performance reviews. I am terrible at that, but I will find you like amazing candidates.
It's like radical honesty.
In a way, yeah. I mean, yeah, in a way, but it is like you also need to combine that with being really curious. Like you need to actually want to know more about the company and what they're doing and the team. You know.
Yeah, that's actually quite a nice bridge to the next one, like this curiosity and understanding the company. Because this kind of a thing that gets thrown around a lot when we're talking with recruiters and like employment services, universities is like networking and networks. And like everyone who's searched for a job in Finland has heard of the like importance of networks. But how has this showed up for you as a recruiter or as an individual as well?
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, a lot. Networking rather is really important. There's two kind of main reasons that they matter, and they might not be the ones that you think. Firstly, they get you info on the actual available jobs. There's a lot of unpublished jobs in Finland. There's a lot of, there's a big hidden job market out there, and so there are, a lot of companies either because they're worried about having to deal with massive inbound or just because they don't have the resources to do it, don't publish all their roles. And networking is a really good way to actually talk with recruiters and get them to say, oh, actually, we have this role open, or talk with hiring managers, and they're like, oh, we're actually going to be looking for this role in your team. And the other thing is that it actually puts you in front of the hiring manager, the actual literal decision maker in the recruitment process. And as a recruiter, if a hiring manager comes to me and says, hey, I met this person at an event, like we need to get them in the process, I'm not going to say no to that. I'm going to be like, okay, great. Do you have a CV? Like, do I need to read? What do you need me to do here? Like, do you even need me to screen them? Do you want me to join your call to ask the admin question? Like, what do you need? So it's a really good way to get in front of the actual decision makers. It will also sort of connect you to recruiters who aren't decision makers, but like recruiters really advise on the process. We often work really closely with hiring managers. And I've been in situations where we've had a group of people, who I've screened, or a group of applications, and the hiring manager has come to me and said, like, hey, I don't know what to do. We've got too many applications. What would you recommend? Like, how should we approach this? And while it's not my decision, I can say to the hiring manager, actually, look, like, based on what we've said, this is how I recommend you approach this. In the interviews, you can kind of go with these questions. These are the sort of candidates I think are going to give you what you want. And so what networking allows you to do is to actually meet the people who are, working really, really closely with the person who's actually going to decide whether you get a role. I think as well, like, if you're working in-house like me, and what I mean by in-house is I'm working for a company, recruiting for that company specifically. I'm not an agency.
Right.
My job is to find people for roles, not roles for people. And so when I'm at events and people are trying to network, if someone comes up to me and says, "Oh, do you have any jobs?" I'm like, "Yes, here's our careers page," because it's very, very difficult. So like I have to do a huge amount of work to work out kind of what you're actually interested in, like super basically. And so I just say, well, here's the careers page. Tell me if there's anything of interest. Whereas if someone comes to me and says, look, I know a bit about the company. This is my experience, and these are the sort of specific roles I'm interested in. Like someone might come and go, look, hey, I've done some marketing. I'm actually looking to get into performance marketing. That's the sort of role I'm interested in. Do you have anything? I can say, well, like either, yeah, actually, great, we do, or no, but connect with this person. And then but that only happens if you actually tell us kind of what you actually want.
Right. So, like, the first step, if we kind of like take a little recap of what you just said, which is a lot of good stuff, and like you can confirm, deny, clarify, but like I would even say like the first step is like knowing who you are, what you want, what you enjoy. Then being curious and finding places where you can talk with people about these things that you know about yourself, whether it's like a career fair or, I don't know, like LinkedIn DMs or something. And then approaching either a recruiter or maybe a hiring manager, if you don't know who a hiring manager is, just like someone from the team, and they can maybe...
Quick clarification there.
Yeah.
It's usually it's a team lead. Like, it's not sort of anyone from the team. The hiring manager is usually, because they're a decision maker, they're usually at least a manager. They might be a director, they might be a VP.
Yeah, good clarification. So then approaching them and checking in with curiosity, like, this is something that I enjoy doing, I want to do, I like your company because, or like whatever it is, like why you're specifically approaching this company.
Yeah.
And like kind of being honest about it and very open about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you made a really good point at the beginning where you said sort of knowing what you want. I mean, I work with a lot of job seekers, and I think one of the toughest things is when I say to someone, what do you want to do? Like, let me help you. And they say, oh, anything. I just need a job. And I'm like, well, in that, I mean, I'm not trying to be harsh, but like in a way, go be a cleaner. It's a difficult job, requires a lot of thinking. And, you know, it's something that, you know, it's something that, you know, it's good. Let's say it's a lower bar to get into than perhaps an office job. And I'm not trying to knock cleaning. I worked in there for 4 years. The cleaners are amazing. I have huge respect for them. But when someone comes to me and says, oh, I just want, you know, like I just want to do anything, I'm like, well, let's find, like, okay, if that's your actual basis, let's find the lowest bar that we can reach to get you that. You know, whereas someone comes to me and says, look, I want to do marketing, and I want to do marketing for gaming. I'm like, okay, great. That's really niche. I know some people, or this is how you can approach it. I can give you really specific advice.
Right. So the more specific in some ways, at least you can be, the easier it is for other people to like kind of like help you get forward. Like, even if they're not the like kind of like end customer, like quote unquote, like they will be able to be like, okay, well, do I know anyone who's relevant to that, who can share something about that?
Yeah, because I think it jogs people's memories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Cool. Awesome. Okay. Well, good to know. Now we know how to network. I love that. And then we can address the stuff that isn't quite what people say it is, which is the recruitment myths. I'm very excited for this section. So I have some rapid fire questions, and I have a feeling these might not be as rapid as I'm thinking, because it's a really juicy topic, but I'll try to be as
go for
to the point as possible. Okay, let's go. Okay. Does AI reject people automatically?
No.
That's a very direct and short answer. I love it. So what really happens when it seems like you've been rejected by AI?
Yeah, so this is, well, from my LinkedIn feed at least, the hottest topic there is there. It's one that I get really, really frustrated by. Like, I get almost quite angry when I hear people talking about this. Basically, there are a few different things it could be. So as recruiters, we often use what's called a knockout question. So this is basically a binary, usually a yes or no question on the application form. Like, for example, if the job is in Poland, are you currently living in Poland, or do you have a residence permit? And if you say no, the system will reject you. That's not AI. That has literally been set up by a human. But the reason we use those is because there are some things that are just such hard requirements that if you don't have them, that like there's absolutely no way that we can consider you.
Yeah.
Some rejection emails do read like AI. Some are written by AI. So if you get, an email and you're seeing like everything's in the rule of 3 and M dashes everywhere, you're probably going to assume it's AI, and I completely understand that. Yeah. As well, like some ATSs, so applicant tracking systems, they will delay sending a message. Like they'll put like a 3-hour delay on it. Partly that's so that you can undo it if you mess up, which I've done in the past. But it also means that, say, if I reject someone at like, I don't know, 4:15 in the afternoon, and there's a 5-hour delay, you might get that email in the evening, which makes it seem like why is a human working at that time? Right. And so it can seem like that. AI is absolutely used in recruitment, though. It's often used to rank candidates. So some ATSs will give a score. Some will put candidates into buckets, kind of like, hey, these seem like top candidates, these seem mid, and these seem not so relevant. And I mean, even as I understand it, even the legal case against Workday in the US isn't alleging that AI is rejecting people. What it's saying is the AI is using protected characteristics to put people into buckets that that aren't relevant.
So it's like discriminatory.
Basically, yeah. I mean, I'm not a legal expert. Go read about it yourselves. It's fascinating. But what does happen as well is you will have some recruiters who will, instead of going through all the applications, say, "Oh, AI has told me that these are irrelevant applications, so I'm just going to blindly trust that." And just reject if the AI says, if the AI score is low.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've had people who've told me to do this, and I've said you should quit. Like, stop being a recruiter. You should not be working with people if that's your approach. But like, and so what this means though is that like AI is absolutely used in recruitment. No one's denying that. It is used to rank people, but the actual decision to reject someone is still a human. A really good test. Tell you what, reach out to a salesperson at an ATS and ask them, can your system do this? Can it actually reject? I've done this and no one has said yes yet.
Hot tip.
Like, just I mean, and like the reason I do this is because salespeople generally want to try and give you what you want. They want to say, hey, actually, yeah, we can accomplish that. And I've reached out to some salespeople, and they've all said, no, that's not somewhere where we want to go. Yeah. And I mean, I like, if someone actually has evidence of an ATS that's using AI to actually decide who gets rejected and doing the rejections, prove it. Like, actually put the evidence out there, not just, oh, I heard from someone. Say, hey, I'm actually going to state my case. Here is actual evidence. Here's actual proof. Like, please, like, prove it to people.
I love this. Super good insights. So, okay, ATSs aren't rejecting candidates on their own.
No.
At the worst case, it's a kind of a lazy human, to be honest.
Basically.
Yeah. So what about on the candidate side then? Like, is it okay for candidates to use AI to generate CVs, cover letters, so on? Like, what's your personal view on that?
I was going to say, like, you ask 10 recruiters, you'll get 11 different answers on this. Some recruiters absolutely hate AI-generated stuff. Like, they'll be like, oh, you've used AI to generate a CV. Oh, how can I trust anything? My personal view is, like, I don't particularly care how you've made your application documents. If you've used AI to generate your CV, fine. What I care about is the information on there accurate? Is is the experience you put there your experience? Have you put it through ChatGPT? Has ChatGPT hallucinated an extra few years? All I care about is the accuracy. And so, from my point of view, if you've generated a CV with some AI tool, I don't care personally. But there are some recruiters and some hiring managers who are dead against it and who will say we're going to, reject it. Yeah. It sucks because, especially if you are, you are job seeking and you're looking for a role. A, it's stressful. B, you may have other commitments because you have, a life. Say for example, if you've got a family, like that's firstly way more important. Secondly, takes a lot of time. And it might be that you don't have time to, to dedicate to, all of these applications. And so you say, oh, well, what if I have the accurate information but generate it with AI? Yeah. And to me, I'm like, great. I just want to know.
So it's more like, don't use AI to build you stuff out of nothing. If you use AI, then use it to curate and optimize information that comes from your source material.
Absolutely. I mean, I've tried it with my own CV. I've put it through like ChatGPT and Gemini to see the difference. And I've said, hey, like, partly I've said, like, act as a recruiter and tell me, is this a good role? Is this a good CV for this sort of role? I've said, can you give me, like, rewrite my About Me section in 3 different ways and kind of focus on this? And I haven't just sort of copy pasted that, but I have sort of looked at it and said, actually, I really like that phrase. This structure's pretty cool, but I don't like the words. You know what I mean? And so I think, yeah, you can absolutely refine with AI, but I think because if you just sort of copy paste directly without checking it, A, you run the risk of it just being inaccurate, and B, you run the risk of not really being able to explain what you've put when a hiring manager says, "Hey, I see you've described your role in this way," and you have to sort of be like, "Yeah, probably," which is not.
Like,
It's not.
oops, what did I?
Yeah, like what did I write? Yeah, and so yeah, I mean, I'd say I absolutely use AI to help, but like, please read what you're submitting.
I think that's really solid advice. All right, cool. Let's continue on the topic of advice. Why do you, like, in your opinion, why do you think recruitment advice is so scattered? Like, how do we end up with all of these myths? Like, what's happening here or there? Like, AI this, AI that, and this is the silver bullet to everything, or like, how does this happen? Like, how are we so different even though the profession is like, kind of industry standard?
Your editor's going to have fun with this because I get I get kind of quite sort of like I get quite worked up about this. Basically, it's easier to sell to frighten people when they're scared for their livelihood. Like if you frighten someone, you can sell to them, and a lot of the myths are being perpetrated by people who are trying to sell you an AI CV service, or hey, here's my my guide to doing this with AI. This is the only thing you'll ever need. And so I think the reason why a lot of advice is so scattered is partly that there's a lot of people who realize that they can make a lot of money out of this. Partly organizations are different and they do recruit differently, and hiring managers have different opinions. I mean, in my own company, like I have one hiring manager who came to me and was like, I don't know how a recruitment process works. Teach me everything. And I'm like, okay, cool, great, let's do this. Like, we can't ask this, we can ask this. And I have another one who's like, I've already interviewed 3 candidates. I just need you to, do the recruiter thing. And I'm like, okay. What I recommend though is like, when you're reading stuff on LinkedIn, like really critically evaluate who's saying it. If someone is saying, oh, the ATSs are rejecting you with AI, has this person ever used an ATS? Like, are they using it day to day? Are they an actual recruiter? Are they sort of selling like, an ATS?
Yeah, like what are the credentials?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of agency people who've tried to who've been pushing this whole AI rejects people and saying, and this is why you should use agencies because we don't do this. And I'm like, oh, that's amazing. So really critically evaluate it. I've seen like a weird number of software developers pushing this. And it seems that people kind of go, oh, you're a software developer, it's software, you must know what you're talking about. It's like, if you've never used that software, I mean, no. Like, and so, just I say, I mean, I keep coming back to this, but critically evaluate stuff. Ask, like, what's your evidence? What's your source? Why are you saying this? And I tend to find that if someone's just making stuff up, they don't tend to respond, or it falls apart really quickly. I also want to blame LinkedIn. Please, I want to blame LinkedIn for this because they prioritize engagement over accuracy, and it sucks. You can have a comment, if someone posting going, AI does this, and you can have 100 people saying, no, it doesn't. And all of the comments are not what get, not like, firstly, that's not what gets seen, that's not what gets spread around. And B, LinkedIn kind of goes, these are 2 equally balanced opinions. They're not. And you can report stuff as misinformation, and LinkedIn kind of goes, oh, cool. So, I mean, I put a lot of blame on LinkedIn. Sorry, it's turned into a real
it's
sort
a
of
social media like any other.
It is, yeah, and it's meant to be more formal and. Sorry, I say like in a way I apologize for venting. In a way, I absolutely do not. This is the stuff that makes job seekers' lives incredibly difficult and infinitely more stressful. I'm sorry, if you're looking for a job in this market, you don't need more stress. You need help. And then, I mean, also it's unfair and it's dishonest. But I would also just kind of like to come back, like organizations are different though. and people orgs do recruit differently, and so in a way, there is a small microcosm of all of the myths out there that are probably based on just different people doing things differently, which is valid. But again, ask people how they come to these conclusions.
Yeah. Well, I think there's different organizations, LinkedIn, social media as a whole.
It's going to be interesting to see whether I have a job after this.
We won't tell them that you were here. No. I'm sorry, I think that she might have failed already. No, but these are very valid things. And like as a job seeker, if you've never worked in recruitment or as a hiring manager, I mean, it's difficult to know like
it's
what
a black
to
box.
do.
Like you send off your application, something happens, and either you get rejected or you get an invite to an interview. Like it is a complete, it's completely obscured.
Yeah. Like if you similarly, if you told me that, well, to build a grandfather clock, you have to weld things together. Like I wouldn't maybe know to question that at all because I don't know how they're assembled. So I'm gonna be like, well, like, look, you're saying this post has 1,000 likes or whatever. Like seems legit, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm like gonna go and like share to others that, okay, did you know that grandfather clocks are welded together or whatever it is, the narrative. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So go to real life recruiters, question.
I mean,
just, like ask for the credentials or like where does this come from? Like
be curious.
Yeah.
Basically. So when someone tells you something, just be like, okay, that sounds really cool. What's your tell me more. How do you find this out? Is this something you work with day to day? You don't have to be awful about it, but you do need to be sort of deliberate about it in a way.
Yeah. Be curious. I think this is like a kind of like an overarching theme. Conversation.
It's gonna
curiosity gets you. They say like curiosity killed the cat. I think that's the saying.
I mean,
I think like
it might have killed the cat once, but cats have got 9 lives. So the other 8 times are the cat's probably had a pretty good life, I reckon.
I love this take on. Yeah, you have 9 lives. Like, just be curious. Yeah, and I am really curious about the recipe for success in recruitment processes, because I have definitely in my previous life as a recruiter as well, definitely kind of lived or like experienced this thing when you open somebody's application, CV, LinkedIn profile, like maybe you sourced it, maybe they applied, and you look at the profile or the document, whatever it is, and you're like, well, obviously we should interview this person. Like it immediately clicks. It feels like just like there's no question about it. This is a great candidate. So how can one create this type of a reaction or impact in a recruiter or a hiring manager? Like, what does that look like in practice? Like, what's the recipe?
So what I'm going to say sounds really simple. And A, it is. But B, simple doesn't mean easy. Simple is actually usually really quite difficult. Essentially, when I'm looking at an application, what I'm saying is, does their experience match what we need? Have they essentially done what we need them to have done to be able to accomplish this role? And if you can show that, then we're definitely going to want to talk with you. Now, the way that you can show that, I find, is by it's basically by showing what impact you've had. And what I mean by impact is essentially what results have you got. I see a lot of people saying, oh, I managed this process, or I built this. I mean, I was looking at some security roles recently. Someone said, oh, I built out a security awareness training. And I think a lot of people look at that and go, oh, that's really cool. And I'm like, oh, okay. What happened? Did it work? Like, what's your impact? Did the security awareness training, did it reduce incidents? Did it, was it well liked? Like, how many people completed it? Because when I go to a hiring manager, I have to say, hey, I talked with this candidate. They've done all this cool stuff, and if I can say they did this security awareness training for a 500-person organization, 100% completion rate, and actually their incidence rate have dropped by 50%, that hiring manager is going to say, wow, like yeah, that's exactly the sort of person we need. Whereas if all I've got is they've done this, the hiring manager say, well, okay, I've got 5 other CVs with the same thing. What's special? And so what you're doing is you're showing the results that you've done, um, and tying it to basically what the job description needs. And this is equally applicable if you're changing industries. I was once recruiting for an accounting role, and someone was applying from project management. No, sorry, it's the other way around. They were applying. Sorry, they'd been an accountant and they were applying for a project management role, right? And what they'd done really, really well is they said, look, in this with project management, I'm going to be working on sort of X sort of things. They're going to be working with these sort of stakeholders. I've worked with these stakeholders as an accountant, and these are the sort of projects I managed as an accountant. Whether it was a complete transformation of the systems they used, whether it was sort of moving from like one way of receiving invoices to another, that sort of thing. But they were actually able to describe it, the impact they had in terms of the current job description. And so I was able to go to the hiring manager and say, look, this seems really interesting. You're not just getting like accounting experience, you're also getting project management. And actually this person might be really, really good at other things in your team. But they were able to do it because they could say, hey, like when we changed systems, I was able to do it with a sort of was it a 3% loss in like efficiency? I can't remember how they measured it, but that was
right.
Yeah. But
there was like a measurable, tangible outcome.
Bingo. Yeah. Yeah.
Like some kind of like direct connection to what was said in the job description. Like this is what the job is.
Yeah. And I mean,
like, look, this is the job I've done, which is same.
Bingo, yeah. And like, I mean, as some examples, like if I were applying to a role where they said, "Oh, we want someone who's comfortable working in like a fast-paced environment," I'd be saying, "Yeah, I'm comfortable working on 25 requisitions simultaneously. I've got like an 8-week average close time and like an 80% offer acceptance rate, all at the same time." And that's, I mean, what that is impact. That is results. That shows that I'm capable of doing that, in a really quite a fast-paced way.
Yeah. So what I'm getting from this, kind of like a couple of like really juicy components, is like one is the like linking your past experience into the job description and kind of the importance of not so much the like, do I have this exact degree, but like, have I done this before and what did it look like? And like, why is it the same as what you're asking for, even if it's from a slightly different field?
Yeah.
And then this sort of like result orientedness, like, what is it that I can like actually bring? Like, what does it look like in practice?
Yeah.
To when I'm doing this job. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love it. Awesome. Such good insights. I'm like pumped. So I'm like, you're just like wiggling happily. All right. And then we had a couple of questions.
Yeah.
From our founding audience. I love that term. I'm going to be using that.
It's good. Founding audience. Yeah.
Founding audience. First up, I have a question that comes from Michael. So I'll just read it from here. For people who are earlier in their careers or don't have the specific years of experience listed in job postings, what can they actually do to stand out and compete in today's market? I'm curious what makes a junior candidate's application compelling from a hiring perspective.
Yeah, really, really good question. I mean, first up, sadly, if a job description has a number of years of experience and you don't meet that, that can just be an immediate blocker. It sucks because, like job titles, years of experience is not a particularly good way to decide to work out what someone's actually done. But there are some hiring managers who take it very seriously. So sometimes that might just be it. But for more junior roles, like and especially sort of intern roles, you're not expected to be adding value to the company. Like with a junior role, what you're there to do is to essentially take off some of the pressure from the seniors so they can focus on the areas that the company has decided will add value. But B, you're there to learn. And so what they want to see is that you've actually done stuff with your experience. I've seen junior developers who've flown through job descriptions because they've got a really cool GitHub page of projects that they've worked on. Not particularly sophisticated projects, but it shows that they've done their computer science degree or they've done their their coding course, and they've used it because that actually shows a hiring manager, hey, this person's actually interested, like they actually want to do stuff. And actually, one of them was actually working on the same problem the team was working on, which was quite fun because the hiring manager was like, "Oh, great! Do you want to be paid for this thing you're already doing?"
Yes, please.
But I've seen people in more junior marketing roles who've really taken a deep dive into the product, and when they're talking with hiring managers, they can talk about it in a really sort of in a much deeper way than someone who's just sort of glanced at the page, and they can say, actually, I don't know what your strategy is, but here's how I'd approach it. Because again, it shows that you're curious, it shows that you're interested, and it shows that you've actually kind of done something with it. I've seen junior salespeople do really well when they treat the sales process, the recruitment process, like a sales process. So when they talk with me, they're like, "Hey, what are the next steps? Who am I meeting? Can I have their LinkedIn?" They'll connect with them. Constant sort of like that's the process you're going to be running, right?
Like keeping it moving and the
exactly
kind of relationship.
Yeah, and what they're doing is they're literally showing the hiring manager, look, if I can do this in a recruitment process, I can do it I can do it for real. And so I think as a junior, it's a rough market out there. It's tough, and what you need to be able to show is I'm going to kind of come back to it, but like that you're actually interested in what you're doing and that you have done some stuff. It doesn't have to be official experience. There was someone who I know who recently got a job in data analysis. What they had done was written a really simple Python script to pull data from somewhere, and had put it through a free version of Tableau, and had made a dashboard. And this was just like a hobby project for them. But they included it in their application. I sent it to the hiring manager, and the hiring manager was like, "This is actually really, really good." And to say like that's not paid experience or anything like that. They were just interested in this. But it shows that it kind of shows the hiring manager what you can do.
Yeah, so it's like kind of like leveraging whatever you have at your disposal, whether it's school project, your own project, volunteer project, your presence, like kind of depending on the role a little bit, like how, like simulating like what you would be doing and like really painting a picture of what it would look like if I worked here.
Yeah. I think there's also, there's always one interesting thing I find with more junior roles. A lot of juniors often want to call themselves experts. And while, you call yourself what you want, I'm not going to judge you. But I do know that there are hiring managers who, they don't quite take offense to it, but they're sort of like, do you actually know your own abilities? Because if you've got 3 years experience, you're not an expert. Just practically.
You're like a specialist.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that you don't yet know. And so I think, in a way, being humble, being able to say, look, this is what I know, this is what I do, this is what I want to learn. Like, I'm not good at this bit yet. I want to learn this.
Also, like sharing what is on your personal roadmap to learn, like how do you want to grow or develop.
Like with networking, these are the sort of jobs I want to work in. Really useful because we can point you in the right direction. This is the sort of stuff I want to learn. I've had candidates who've turned an interview round because they've said, actually, I'm really interested in sort of learning like Flutter. And the hiring manager has kind of sat back and gone, yeah, we actually are, like, we're going to be bringing that on. Like, okay, cool. We've got someone, who's actually interested. Like, let's talk.
I love that. Okay, awesome. So many good bits. And then we have one more question before we start closing this up. And this comes from Jolly. And Jolly asks, as an experienced international, what would be the best way to present all skills in CV and LinkedIn that can be in alignment with the recruiter's expectations? So I read it as like, how do I figure out and like make this like match between expectations and what I have to offer? Like, how do I actually bring these two together?
Yeah. Impact. I mean, there's more to it than that. I was just taking a breath. So yeah, partly the job description will have a list of requirements, and while some job descriptions are terrible, and the requirements are often ridiculous, you do have a list of things that the company does seem to actually want. So what you need to do is essentially go through your experience and find things that you've done that align with what the company is wanting. I personally, at every job I have a spreadsheet of wins. I have a spreadsheet of achievements, of metrics that I've done, and partly I read it on days when I'm just having a bad day. I can be like, oh great, yeah, I'm not terrible. I've got all this cool stuff. But it does mean that if I'm going for a new job, I kind of have a ready-made list of examples, and I can kind of pick and choose what actually makes sense for the job. And in a way, like that's it. Like again, it's simple. It's not easy, but it is what you've got to show is that the impact that you've had is sort of in line with what the job is looking for.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Okay, let's start to wrap this up. My final question is that if the listeners, like if they would take like one thing from today's conversation with them and like really remember and like embody it, what would that be?
Tailor your applications to the job that you're applying for, even if it means applying to fewer roles. A general application is unlikely to show that you can do a specific job. I have others, but you asked for one.
You can share the two
Okay.
others.
I say I've got three. Yeah. Secondly, like humans are still reading your CVs, and they're still the ones making the decisions ultimately. So like, make sure your application is, or your CV or resume or whatever, make sure it's human readable. I've had CVs that have been so full of buzzwords that they don't have space for impact, and I'm like, I can't propose that. I can't. There's no reason for me to talk to you. I don't know what you've done. So like, they still need to be readable by an actual human being. And then if someone offers to help, if you reach out to a recruiter and they say, hey, yeah, send me a CV, I'll have a look over, please take them up on it. I work with job seekers, and quite a lot of the time I'll say, oh, send me your CV, I'll go over it. Nothing. And it's like, okay. Like if you have someone actually saying, look, I'm willing to dedicate time to this, go through your CV, give you a whole lot of feedback, why wouldn't you say yes to that?
Right.
And it's not like an ego thing. It's just surprising that when someone says, "Oh, would you look over my CV?" I say yes, and then they don't send a CV, and I'm like, "What happened? Did I say something wrong?" Like, it's just confusing to me. And so, like, again, if someone's offering to help, take them up on it. Like this, like again, the market is really tough at the moment. This is not the time to sort of try to do it on your own. Like this is the time to ask for help, to look for resources, to look for advice. And if it's been given, I would strongly recommend that you I don't want to say just blindly follow advice, but like listen to it and consider it.
Yeah, I think that's a really fantastic closing note. Thank you so much, Leo, for taking the time from your busy life to join us here today and answer all these burning questions.
Oh, happy to.
Insights. And so we'll close this episode. Next week, we will have a different guest.
Ooh.
It's super surprising. So next week, we'll sit down with the CIO, not quite CIO of Supermetrics, Tulipa Dups Wijawardana, and we're going to talk about the future of tech roles because, AI and all of that good stuff. And I cannot grasp the point that you made about do not try to just kind of like push through alone. So this has been Sisu Slay by Herizon, and Herizon has a fully free to join community where you can find resources and support for your job search. So I'm dropping it here as like a closing note. But thanks again, and see you next time.